Leap of Faith podcast fans. Welcome to this week's episode with yours truly, Randy Silver. As always, the Leap of Faith is around overcoming adversity, sharing life lessons, and making sure you can achieve your goals, dreams, and wishes. This week, we're going to help you with that on the financial literacy side. We have a lot of people who continue to reach out to me, say, your episodes around stock is great, around the crypto market was great, around personal finance is great. Can you continue to do more episodes like that where I can help better myself understand what's out there for me to get financial gain to achieve goals and dreams? So that's where my guest, Michael Hsu, is on this week. We're going to talk about finance in a different way. We've had everything I just talked about, but he's on to talk about finance investments and investing in businesses, say a laundromat, a gas station, other businesses that you can buy that's not stocks, but you actually own that business and will give you some really good returns and gains. In addition to that, Michael has built his own business and he has other different avenues of achieving financial gain, including Measure X hack that he wants you to understand. Michael has a CFO. Michael has a very big financial backing. So he wants to teach anyone with entrepreneurial spirit, build system, build processes, learn finance, and create businesses tailored to you and your goals so that way you can be successful. So we're going to have Michael come on and talk about that. Before we bring him on, as we do with every episode, to you, Law family, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for listening every week. Please go hit that like, rate, subscribe button on YouTube, Instagram, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, Google, whatever you're listening to, TikTok. Please, thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys' support. You guys continue to reach out to me every week and you say you love the content. We're going to keep driving this content, and you helping spread the message of the Leap of Faith helps more people get involved. So thank you so much. So with that being said, let's dive into finance this week with Michael. Michael, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm really excited to be here.
My pleasure. Was there anything I missed in the intro that you think is important for the audience to know?
No, it was a phenomenal intro. It says a lot about what I do, so I like it.
Got it. And so then I think let's just dive into it. So I think the big point is, like I already talked about, we've done stocks before, we've done crypto before, we've done personal finance. You want to talk about how people can grow their wealth from buying businesses, which is a different type of investment. So very broad subject there. So I would love to give you the floor, take a couple minutes to kind of describe what that means and how you able to help people with that. You've done it yourself.
Yeah. So my background, I mean, it started when I was a kid. You know, I think when I was a kid, my life was a lot simpler. I just wanted to be rich. You know, I didn't know what that.
Don't we all?
Right. I didn't really know what it means, but I think, and I didn't come from money, right? So, you know, the only way to create wealth is to create it from nothing. And what better way to do that than entrepreneurship, right? Than to start a business. And then after I started a business, I started realizing that it isn't the only way. You know, in fact, if you already worked and you already made a little bit of money, you can actually buy companies, right? Buy small businesses that are cash flow positive. So I've spent the last 10 years of my life really working with CEOs on how to build their business, on really financial literacy, on understanding exactly not just how much money they make, but how much money they're able to keep, right? And also all of the numbers that are within the business so they can know, you know, if I'm spending $10,000 in marketing, what kind of benefit am I getting getting out of that?
What's the ROI?
What's the ROI, and so on and so forth, and really manage. Because what I realized is that entrepreneurs are the solutions to the world's problem, but unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs they don't understand business. You know, they understand whatever it is that they do. Like, for example, if they're a chef, they can cook. They open up a restaurant. They understand that. They understand good food. If they are a marketer, they can, you know, start marketing things, right? But they don't really understand the financials and the business side of things. And it's really important because if you don't understand the financial literacy side of things, then even if you're building a fantastic business, you know, if you're creating good food and good marketing, you might still run out of business, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
You know?
And you said a good term that I just want to rehash really quick: cash flow positive. No, we've heard that in terms of real estate. So it's probably the same concept here. If this is the first time someone's heard that term, which it very well may be, can you just describe what cash flow positive means for a business?
Yeah. So first of all, the number one rule for business is that you have to be profitable, right? It
Yeah.
sounds crazy, but it sounds crazy, but a lot of business out there are not profitable. And we put in all this head trash and well, cash flow positive. So, but beyond being profitable, you also have to be cash flow positive, which means the number of dollar that I put into this business, right? At the end of the day, call it end of the month or end of the year, I need more money to be coming back in because if that doesn't happen, you're gonna run out of business, right? The only sin, the only unforgivable sin in business is running out of cash. Because
Yeah.
unfortunately, if you run out of profit and you have a lot of cash, you still live another day, fight another fight. But if you run out of cash, you know, you're
Then
no
you have the
longer in
luck.
business. You're
Yeah.
out of luck. The saying is you can't take your profit margin down to the bank, right? You can only take cash. So it's extremely important for business to understand that, for CEOs and entrepreneurs to understand that from day one. Either you got to have a chunk of cash to put into the business, so then remain, you know,
Hmm.
or you have to have the ability to create a positive cash flow.
And do you have a real world example of a business you've worked with or a friend that you can talk about as this scenario in real life?
Oh, there's the good example or bad example.
Let's do both. I think it'd be good for people to hear both sides of it.
Okay, so I'll start with a bad example. I have a good friend of mine who came to me 8 months into their business. They blew up. They went from $500,000 in revenue to like $8 million in 8 months,
That's
and
impressive.
and
Very
everybody is
impressive.
celebrating. Yeah, everybody's celebrating. Everyone's feeling good in the office, and I look in the bank account, and there's like barely any money there. I think it was like $15,000. And you're like, where did all the money go? And the problem is that they're growing so fast, and then they're hiring people, they're buying inventory, and then they don't have any of the cash hasn't come in yet, right? So the faster they grow, the more money they spend. And even though on a P&L perspective they're making money, from a cash flow perspective they're not, and they were about to run,
Interesting.
they were about to go out of business. And you see that all the time.
So how were you able to help them with that on their books?
So this sounds crazy, but you got to slow down growth. Number one, you have to slow down growth, and you have to make sure that you're collecting faster, right? That's from a cash flow perspective. You have to make sure that you're collecting faster, either by negotiating better terms or asking for a deposit up front, or borrowing outside funds, right? A
Mm.
lot of times you have to go to a bank, you have to go to your friends, the 3 Fs, right? Friends, family, and fools, right? And ask for more money, right? And I think you have to become cash flow positive, so then you make sure you're making a profit, so then your profit turns into cash and then eventually catch up to your growth.
Got it. So that sounds like a whole different art as well as, like you said, art negotiation, because you a lot of these people get contracts with vendors or big warehouses and like, yo, let's see the money come in, let's see the orders, and then we'll pay you on the back end. But actually could be detrimental to the business if they don't have enough cash up front to then fulfill those orders, because they're living order to order versus living in this, lack of better term, a treasure chest of money that they can use.
Yeah, absolutely. You said it best. It happens so much with big businesses, right? You hear these like little mom and pop shop that just started out, and they got a big trunk contract with, Target or Walmart or, the University of Laverne or something, right? These big contracts. And then this $1 million contract. And then you get so excited, you're hiring people, buying new offices, buying foosball tables. And before you know it, the cash hasn't come in yet and you're already out.
Yeah, that happens in Shark Tank a lot. I'm a big Shark Tank fan. They always talk about that. I was like, we have a big purchase order. We just need cash to fund it. We don't have the ability to do it, or we can't accept an order anymore. So that's a big problem. So then, on the flip side of it, can you talk about a positive cash flow instance that you've worked with?
Oh yeah. So I have we call it negative working capital, right? I have this guy who's working with me, and we're always talking about like how much money you have to put into the business, and then how quickly do you get that dollar back. Well, this guy, the way he negotiated all of his contract, he gets paid everything up front, and he's scheduling all these deliveries 30, 60, 90 days out. So we're sitting on piles of cash, literally, I think $300,000 or $400,000 every single month on just deposits alone. And then he's then taking that money, going out and hiring people and putting the project together and then delivering that. So even though on a profit perspective, he's still not, he's only making money when he earned it. But then from a cash flow perspective, he's always got $300,000-$400,000 in the bank. That's someone else's money that's funding his business and his growth.
Got it. So is that person then able to exponentially grow quicker because they know that they have that money in the bank versus someone who's doing it obviously month to month?
Yes, absolutely. And the best part is it's essentially interest-free loan, right? We talk about how low interest rates are today, but what's even cheaper is if your customers are funding you to come up with a solution, right?
Interesting. So you talked about interest rates are low today. Obviously that's not going to happen. Do you think that's leading to inflation that we're having, say, a year, 2 years, and it's going to create an economic downturn? Or what is your opinion on the whole economic outlook the next 6 to 12 months?
Oh my God. I don't know if anybody understand what the hell is going on in the financial world today. Everything is going up, right? Usually you have something that goes up, something that comes down. I think we just have too much cash, right? I think
We've been printing cash the past year and a half.
Yeah, $3 trillion, right? Like the last 10 years GDP is not even anywhere close to that. But we've been printing so much cash. There's so much cash out there. I personally think at some point, somebody's got to foot the bill, right? So
Yeah.
I think right now it's a perfect time to. I mean, this is what I'm doing, right? I'm not going to give any financial advice on here, but what I'm doing is I'm converting a lot of my assets into cash, So then when things calm down a little bit, I can buy more assets, which is interesting because I wanna. This is something that I knew that I learned, and I want to share this, because I love education. I love talking about financial literacy. Money is only the storage of value, and all that storage of value, all it's going to be used for, it's to purchase goods or services at a later date. So money in itself, it doesn't really mean anything, right? So all you have to think about is, okay, $100,000 or $50,000 today. What does that mean? And then what can that get me today versus what can that get me a year or 2 year or 3 year from now? And I think if you start thinking about that, I think most people have run into the problem. They put money up on a pedestal, but if you stop thinking about that, if you start thinking that money is just a resource and then you can spend it to get the goods and services that you want, it make life a lot easier. And I think you make more money too. I certainly did after I started thinking that way.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of how I look too, is like, I look at money as a long-term commodity. I'm not the type of person who's gonna go like buy a new pair of shoes, buy a new pair of jeans. I'm like, hey, cool, I'm gonna put that money, I'm gonna save it away for 5-15 years down the road when I will have a really nice wedding. If I want to go buy a nice house, because I know that cash will go much longer in the future. And the exponential value to me and my happiness of having that house versus a shack will be significantly more for me personally.
Yes, absolutely. I hear you.
And then one more question before we can move off of this. Any other types of advice just for business owners or people looking to get into buying businesses that is really important for them when they're looking to start?
First of all, start. I think I hear a lot of your I hear a lot of your podcasts, and every audience is like, well, first of all, start.
Yeah.
But
Which is, it's a very interesting thing that you think would be easy, but a lot of people are afraid to take that leap of faith and like go make that happen.
Right. And the reason why I want to say first start, and then I want to say then learn. Okay, this is why I want to pick, because I'm guilty of this too. Ever since growing up, I love learning, and I always think like I'm not ready. I'm just gonna, like, if I want to learn about, for example, right now I'm learning about probate court and real estate, right? And I would spend hours about learning it and where can I find deals. But the truth is, and I know this, all you need to do is like get ready and then get started, because as you get started, you will learn much faster, right? And if today you're buying a business, I think that there's so much stuff on there. Like for example, on Measure and Hacks Instagram, or on my friend Cody Sanchez's Instagram. There's so many people out there talking about these things, right? If you just listen to one podcast or check out some YouTube videos, I think it's enough information for you to get started. And once you're in there, then you can start learning about the things that you don't know. Then you can start be like, oh, well, how do I get a bid? Let me go learn that, right? Instead of just like blanketly just like, oh, I'm just gonna learn everything about it, because you'll never learn everything about it.
Yeah.
So if you just learn the basic and then get started, then you can start learning the different aspects that you need as it comes out.
And that's what people ask me, like the podcast, like, hey, how do you get it started? Exactly that. I get myself a weekend to like, hey, what do I need to do to get started? And I guarantee you, if you go back and listen to episode 1, it's much different than what we're on episode 59. Obviously I didn't do videos for the first 25, 30 episodes. So I've seen myself evolutionize with the podcast. As I learn something, I can continue to get better and better. And Leap of Faith fans, hopefully you see that. Thank you so much. So I think that's really good advice. So, and you're obviously a great guest. You talked about Measure Hacks. So can you talk about that a little bit in the Instagram, everything that you do to help people with financial literacy?
Yeah, so Measure X Hack or Measure N Hack, it's really my new baby, or my baby for the next 10 years. The last 12, 13 years, I ran Deep Sky, and it's a, like you said, it's an outsourced CFO company. We do, financial analysis and financial consulting for, CEOs around the world, $1 to $20 million companies. But the struggle was that it was a one-on-one consulting, right? And then I started realizing, well, you know what? Everything about numbers can be applied to all aspects of our life, right? So if you go on Measure and Hacks website, you will see that we have what we call a me triangle. There's like business, and then there's relationship, and then there's personal. But if you apply the same idea of, what we say, vision, strategy, execution, measure, and hack, right? You can apply that to any goal in your life. So for example, I apply the same methodology to, getting a six-pack abs, right? I apply the same methodology to, having a better relationship with my family, right? I apply the same methodology to running $1 million business, right? So we essentially take everything we have learned in business, in Deep Sky, in the day-to-day consulting for the last 12, 13 years, and then extrapolated everything. And so we call it the idea systems and tools to live that CEO life, right? And we're putting it online. We're turning it into, videos and conversations with other experts in their respective fields. And we want to put that out there to the world for anybody to consume. Anybody who says, hey, you know what? I'm not happy with where I am today, but I want to live a life where I enjoy. I want to live my dream, right? And we say, hey, this is a system, this is a methodology that we use for the last 10, 12, 13 years that worked out for us. So why don't you take it and see how it can apply to the different aspects of your life? And that's what we're committed to building for the next 10 years.
And I love that. And I think you made a really good point. It's like, especially on the Instagram part, like bite-sized stuff. What people really are into nowadays, like memes or like stuff that like, it's like the five things you need to do to be successful, the tips of successful investors versus unsuccessful investors. So like you have obviously this wealth of knowledge, and now you're able to break it up where people maybe who don't have the same background, the same depth of understanding, are able to understand it, get that point, and then they can continue to follow you and learn more and more. Is that pretty accurate?
Yes, absolutely. Because I honestly, for me personally, I had a little, story in my life back in 2015 where I realized at the end of the day, all that matters in life is being happy.
Yeah.
And I want to help as many people, either I know or I don't know, to do that, right? Whatever happy means for you, whatever happiness means for you, whatever dreams or accomplishments or any states you want to be in, I just want to share that, hey, you know what? We're all here and we want to be happy. Here's the journey, here's the methodology, here's what I got, and hopefully you can take something from it. And if I can just get, some people to say, hey, you know what, you've changed my life, well worth it. I think that's why when I first hear your podcast, I was like, it resonated so well. I think it's on the same mission.
Yeah, and I think that's why people really enjoy this, because as you said, everything that we try to share here at Leap of Faith is about people achieving the goals, achieving their happiness, overcoming adversity. And finance is a big part of it. They don't say money buys happiness, but it definitely buys things that can make you happy. Or for me personally, money buys me the de-stress, to not have to feel like, how am I going to pay my rent? How am I going to buy groceries? And I'm very humble to say that I don't have to worry about that. And that's because I have the money. So what do you think of the quote, money buys happiness? And how would you say that's perceived based off of people being happy?
Here's an unpopular opinion. I
I'll give you a
absolutely
drum
think
roll.
I think money buys you happiness. I think money only buys two things. It buys happiness or it buys more money. And that's
Mhm.
it. That's all it does. You
Can
know?
you elaborate on the part that money buys you more money?
Yeah, so we in the earlier in the podcast we talked about how money is just a resource,
Yes.
right? It's no different than a hammer, right? A hammer that can nail something to build a house, to build a crib, to build a bed, to build something. That's what money is. It's just a resource. So essentially, money can just build you that house, happiness, right? Or but the other thing is money can buy you more money by hiring more people or investing or buying a business. It generates more money,
Yep.
right?
Okay.
Until it turns into a service or goods that brings you happiness or brings your loved one happiness.
Got it.
You know,
And you said in 2015 you realized that life is all about happiness. What was that aha moment? Were you doing something where you felt unfulfilled? Did you have a conversation with someone where you were like, you know what? Maybe I'm financially independent, but I'm not happy, and you had that moment.
yeah. Um, well, a little bit cliche, but I watched my father wither away and die from cancer between 13 and
Mm, 14.
14
I
for two
apologize to
years.
hear that. My
Yeah.
condolences.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a great learning experience. You know, I think it's the only thing he left me. It's his inheritance for me. My father is extremely successful, super frugal, and he was so frugal that he wasn't willing. We had this koi pond, and he didn't want to fix it, but he really enjoyed it, and he will always talk about how like he really enjoyed that koi pond when we had it. And I was thinking that this thing is going to cost like $100,000 to fix. It turned out it was like 5,000 US or something like that, something ridiculous. And I'm watching this guy; he's dying, and he wasn't willing to spend that money. So what
Mm,
I did was I spent the money. I got the koi pond fixed up. You know, I put water in it. I put koi's in it. And my father spent the last 4 months of his life sitting in front of that pond any chance he gets, feeding fishes, and he's always so happy. And I was watching him. And I was like, it's $5,000. That's it, just $5,000, and I bought this man's happiness for 4 months. It, and,
interesting.
and it's crazy. It isn't some crazy like freaking mansion or Ferraris or Lamborghini.
Yeah.
It was something so simple, and that dawned on me, and I was like, what's the point? What's the point of all of this, right? Why do we always have to wait until somebody's dying or somebody is sick to really feel that? What if we can do this every single day? What if we can live our life every single day and stop saying, hey, I'll be happy when, and start saying, hey, I'm happy now, and this is what I'm working on as well,
Yep.
right?
I
And if we
love
can
that.
do that day in and day out, that's what it's all about. And I want to do that. So ever since 2015, that's all I do every single day. People's like, Michael, what's your dream? What do you do? I'm like, I'm living my dream.
I agree.
You know, just every day, I just want to be happy. I want to experience new things. I want to experience new people. I want to meet more people. I want to share my knowledge. And, in the process, I want to make more money. And then people go, if you make more money, what are you going to do? Well, the more of the same thing, you
Yep.
know.
I
So
agree.
it's a process, and that's my story. That's why the measure and hack. It's all part of this
Yeah, and
journey.
I think we have a very similar mindset. It's very obvious because for me, people like, yo, you lost your job. Like, are you sad? You mad? It's like, no, because like I'm still living my dream. I'm living in San Diego. I get to surf every day, get to hang out with friends. Like, I will be fine. The money will come in the future. So what I'm using with my summer is I'm just, for lack of a term, I'm taking a hot boy summer, and yeah,
Yeah,
I stopped the job search a little bit, and I'm just hanging out, working out, surfing, being with friends, and like I probably haven't been this happy just waking up and not having any responsibilities to do in my life. And it's because one, I have the financial independence and literacy where I've done enough to save money. I have my treasure chest where I'm good. And two, like you said, I'm just waking up with a smile every day. I'm going to bed with a smile every day. I don't have that stresses. And I think honestly, I probably have added years to my life because of this. I feel so much better, healthy. So it
yeah,
goes in the same vein.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. And I love what you said, right? Like, I know there's so many, like, money is the root of all evil. Money cannot buy you happiness. but I don't want to think that. I don't want to think that, money is a tool. It's a good resource. It's like a hammer,
Yeah.
right? And so treat it as such, right? Like I love what you said. Like, because you have that treasure chest, like you're not worried. You're not worried about if you're going to be out on the streets tomorrow,
Yeah.
right? You're not worried if you're not worried if you got hurt, can you afford? Like it's just all those little things. So it frees you up. It frees you up to have the time and energy to spend it with what really matters, and that's with yourself or the people that you love.
Yep, exactly. And I think that's a good segue as we kind of round third base here. Is there any final points that you haven't brought up yet that you think is good for the Loft family to know about?
Um, if we want to wrap up, I would say don't be afraid of numbers. Don't be afraid of money. You know, Eh,
Numbers can be a foreign object sometimes.
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, like, the funny thing is that we as a society, we don't teach it. We don't talk about it. We're like, oh, it's rude to talk about money, right? But I think if you really understand it and if you really learn it, there's way to make it benefit your life. There are ways to make it benefit your life, right? So learn it. Even if it's just like the smallest thing, even if it's just like things like, hey, you know what? Maybe you're not going out there and buying a company tomorrow and running a business, but maybe it's just, hey, you know what? I'm gonna be smarter about using my credit card. I'm going to be smarter about leveraging debt. I'm going to be smarter about taking out a mortgage or taking out a personal loan at a low interest rate and then hiring people or doing something or buying something that will appreciate in value. Just even small financial changes that puts you in a more comfortable financial position. Again, it translates throughout your entire life, throughout your entire me triangle, where you will have a better relationship with yourself, with your family, with your husband and wife and kids, and all of that. So if there's anything that I want to wrap up with is, again, don't be afraid of numbers. Don't be afraid of money. Think about it, talk about it, learn about it, right? And understand. Don't put it on a pedestal, right? It's just it's just a tool. Like, the funny thing, I always say this, like, no, you will never hear anybody who goes, I'll check out their Instagrams, like, oh, check out my shed of hammers. Like, check out, I have 50 hammers. Like, nobody goes that. Everyone's like, oh, look at my house, look at my family, all that, right? So why do we do it with money? Why do we go, oh, check out like $10,000 my brick, whatever? It
Yeah,
doesn't really matter.
it's a very interesting concept. And I think, that's a really good point, is like, I know I've said this in the podcast, is, well, you don't really get financial literacy in school. Maybe you take like a class or two, but it's not something where they teach you like the basic, how do I do my taxes? Like, how do I get a mortgage? Stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff out there. There's YouTube University, there's Measure X Hack. There's a lot of different stuff. Just Googling it that you'll be able to do. If people, Michael, wanted to check you out and see how you're able to help them, how can they find you? And everything he says will be in the bio of this YouTube link or the bio of Apple, Spotify, etc.
Yeah, definitely check out our Instagram. We have a bunch of content on there. It's Measure X Hack, at measure.x.hack. And then our website, measurexhack.co. The vision for that is to eventually become a platform where we're putting everything we have learned and also everything that our friends have learned on there, to check out. And you can pick the different things. You can learn about relationship, you can learn about personal, you can learn about business. Well, mostly about business right now, because that's what I'm really good at. So definitely go check us out on measurexhack.co.
Do you eventually have an idea to turn that to an app as well, that besides just being a website?
Yeah, I think so. But the real vision, the 10-year goal, right? Because I'm going to be working on this for next at least 10 years, if not more, is that I want to turn it into what I call Harvard Business School 2.0, right? I want it to be more than a methodology. I want it to be a platform where I can invite people like you, people like, I think last episode was Taylor, right? They're on the different aspects of life, but still applying that same idea of, what's the vision? What are the strategy? How are we executing? And then what can we measure and what can we hack so we can get to that goal, get to that happy state faster?
I love that. And hopefully Michael has brought you the happy state listening to this podcast. Again, Michael, thank you so much for coming on. This is the Leap of Faith podcast. My name is Randy Silver. If you like this content, please go follow Michael on Instagram. Again, it's in the bio of everything. Please go check out the website. It's in the bio of everything here. If you like Leap of Faith, please follow, please like, please subscribe. And at all channels, all podcasts, YouTube, everything. It helps me get the message out. Michael, you have made me more financially literate and independent today. I know you've made my audience as well. So I would like to do the sign off with you. If you could repeat after me. Stay healthy.
Stay healthy.
Stay wealthy.
Stay wealthy.
And have a good week, fans.
And have a good week, fans.
Deuces.
I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
Bye, everybody. Until next week.
Later.